of introductions around, and people can just join in.
You wanna join us, or?
Pardon me?
Are you my bodyguard? I could not tell.
I can't hear what you're saying. Sorry.
Okay, I sent. Here, let me check actually.
M. Calif, 41.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, it's Marcus. Sorry.
Marcus.
Hey,
yeah.
how are you?
Hey, Marcus.
No.
Hey, how are you doing?
No.
I'm good. How are you?
No.
Sorry, that's
All right. So, yeah. Hi, this is me. I'm John. I'm president of the E-Club for this year, 1920. This is a 5960 E-Club. We've just got an official word that we got our name changed to Cultural Exchange Enthusiast Rotary Club from RI this week, so we're pretty excited about that. Thanks everyone for joining us, and Georgia, a special thank you to you. And I was on a test call with Harrison about a half hour ago, so he should be joining. But while we wait, can we just go around, do a quick check-in? Who are you? Are you part of Rotary currently in another club? And if so, which club? And if you're a former exchange student, where you went and what year? Ryan, can we start with you?
Sure. Hello. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Ryan Allen with Minneapolis South Rotary, and I've hosted exchange students and been a counselor for a few years here.
Very good. Thank you very much. When you're not talking, if people can just click that mute button, it's the microphone icon on the lower left of your screen. Yep, that'll minimize the noise. Naomi, how about you next?
Sorry, I had to unmute. Yeah, I'm Naomi. Went out as an exchange student 08-09 to Lithuania, so a while ago. And I'm currently a camp director in northern Minnesota. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Welcome again. Glad you're back. Chris-Ann? Oh, your mute is on.
Chris-Ann Manolas. This is my club. I moved out here 5 months ago from the Edina Rotary Club, and I used to chair the North Star Rotary Youth Exchange Program for 7 years. Went to Brazil in 73, 74.
Thanks, Chris-Ann. Kirk Anderson?
I'm Kirk Anderson. I am from St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin, which is about 45 minutes east of the Twin Cities. This is my club. Probably, well, it's been a long time. Several years ago, I started managing the club as we were trying to get it chartered. It did get chartered, and we ended up doing we lost some members and struggled through it. And just in the last, 6 months now, John, we've kind of restarted it, kicked it off, and now we're having a pandemic, and look at where we're at.
Look at where we're at, right. Yeah. Thanks, Kirk. Adam?
Hi, everybody. I'm Adam Hennings. I'm a guest, but we'll see. I went to Austria in 2004, 2005.
Thank you. Camden?
I'm a prospective exchange student for Japan this fall. So if that works out, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, right? Thanks, Camden. Olga?
Yes, a fairly new member with this club, and but been with Rotary for quite a few years. And I live in Lake Benton, Minnesota, which is in the southwest corner of the state, and have been very active with the youth exchange program in District 5610, which is South Dakota and surrounding area. And I did not participate in a youth exchange, but I actually just moved to another country for the rest of my life, and that is the United States of America. And I'm very excited to have you all here.
And Olga's from the Netherlands. Thank you very much. Lisa?
Hey there, my name is Lisa Miller. I was an exchange student to Germany 10 to 11.
Great. Greg White?
Hi, everyone. I thought he was doing this alphabetical order by last name. My name's Greg White. I'm formerly a member of both St. Paul Rotary and Golden Valley Rotary. I'm now a member of this club. Before then, I was an exchange student to Sweden way back in the 1960s, and just glad to be part of this club.
Thanks, Greg. Ken? There we go. I think I can unmute you. Oh, maybe not.
How's that?
There we go. Thank you.
There we go. Well, thank you very much. I'm visiting from Lakeville, the Rotary Club, where I'm serving as president for this year.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Marlene? Whoops, you're on mute.
Unmute now. Okay.
There we go. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marlene Gargolak. I'm past district governor of 5960. I have been involved with this club for going on 6 years, having met initially in Minneapolis to start a club between 5950, 5960. And this is just extremely exciting to me. This is the best thing that's happening in the world right now. Thank you, John, for doing it.
Well, and for everyone, and thank you for your leadership in getting it started. Thank you.
Yeah.
Paul, you want to go next?
Sure, Paul Perez. I'm currently district governor of 5960. My home club is Prior Lake Rotary. We've been host parents a couple times. We had our son go outbound to Germany, and I've been a counselor and a big supporter of this group. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here again. Eleanor?
Hello, my name is Eleanor. I went on exchange to the Czech Republic in 1516 from the Edina Morningside Club. And I'm a hopeful new member, maybe, of this club. This is very fun and exciting.
Yeah, isn't this fun? This is great.
Yeah,
I'm really glad you're here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kathy?
Hi, I'm Kathy Hewitt. I'm the district office administrator for 5960. My home club is Lakeville, and I was a parent of an outbound exchange student to Lithuania 2010-11, Natalie Wichork.
Great. Thank you. Elaine, can you go next?
Sure. I'm Elaine Bauman. I am in the River Falls Rotary Club, and I am the short-term exchange program team leader. And while I didn't go on exchanges with Rotary, I did host an AFS student. My sons both have done years abroad through college, so I'm a big advocate of any kind of exchange program, but Rotary's at the best.
You're a cultural
I'm
exchange
biased.
enthusiast. And we're glad to have you.
I totally am.
Thank you. Emma?
Yeah, so I'm Emma. I went to Finland 1516, and I'm the current North Star Rotex president.
Wonderful. Thank you. Georgia?
Hi everyone, I'm Georgia. I'm from Minneapolis, and I'm a current exchange student in Milan, Italy.
Thank you. Yep, and Georgia's one of our speakers tonight. Marcus?
Yeah, hi, I'm Marcus. I went to Italy 2016, 2017, and I'm currently part of Rotex leadership as a co-inbound officer.
And where in Italy were you?
Like Lake Como area, so kind of near Milan where Georgia is.
Yeah, okay, very good. Georgia, you're in that area too as well, I think you said, the northern part?
Yeah, Lombardia, that area.
Wonderful. Roger?
How do you unmute this? Okay, unmute. Oh, there we go. Roger Reestead, Roseville Rotary, and still part of the North Star database.
Thank you very much. Lynn Keillor?
Hello, I'm Lynn, and I'm a member of the Minneapolis South Rotary, and I was also an exchange student to Norway.
Thanks very much. Let's see, people reordered. I was going in order on my screen. Who have I missed? Desiree?
Hello, I am here with a bunch of my family, and
Awesome.
my daughter Amelie is hoping to go to Chile.
Hi.
And
Emily.
we're really excited because there's a few Romans in the bunch, so they're excited to hear what's happening in Italy. And we are with the Minneapolis South chapter.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining, and hi, family.
Hi.
Sandy and Don.
Yeah, this is Don Craighead. I'm roughly a 50-year Rotarian and started the Twin City Rotaract Club many years ago because I kind of work with the 18 to 30-year-old group. I'm not quite that myself. Sandy is the newest Rotarian in our family, and she's the one that got me on Zoom today. I'm computer illiterate, so I do the best I can, and you can see I'm quite difficult to visualize because they don't make machines old enough to handle me.
Yeah, well, you're here and on audio, and we appreciate it, and all the support you've given to the club over the years. Thank you. Darian? Darian?
We have test reports, but that's not what BSC is. It does not stop following BSC.
I'm Darian. I'm Desiree's sister.
Hey, Darian.
Hello.
Thanks for joining. Stephanie George, can you introduce yourself? Say hi.
Hi there. Hey, Jen, how are you?
I am awesome. I'm really glad to see your face and that you're here.
Good to
Can you
see
tell
you
us
too.
your connection to Rotary, your kids that have gone outbound, if you're involved with the club?
Thank you. So I was an exchange student, as several on the call were. I spent a year in Brazil. I have two children who also were exchange students, one to Italy, one to Brazil. And I was in Rotary. I'm not at the moment, but I'm happy to see that this club is going. So thank you for the link.
And you and Chrisanne are sisters. So I'm pointing
Yes,
that out.
Chrisanne is my sister. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Harrison, our other guest speaker, I had a test call with. I don't see him yet unless he's on. Lynn, I think we're going to start with you. So Lynn has a presentation, short presentation, and kind of an opportunity for the club today.
Thank you. My internet has been cutting in and out, so if you can't hear me or if I cut out, maybe we'll have to try a different time. But John, should I share my screen here with my presentation, or do you just want me to talk?
Hey, Lynn. Let's see, I'm going to stop Lynn's video or request that she stop it. And maybe that is a, yeah, Emma is suggesting it as well. If you stop your video, I think we'll have a better.
Okay.
Better
Okay,
connection
let's
with you. And then I have your presentation up here, so I'll just share it and that might help.
Okay, can you hear it? Is this working better? Can you hear me better?
A little better, yep, thank you.
Okay, well, we'll make this brief in case I cut. But I have an interesting proposal to make to this club regarding youth exchange, and I talked to John briefly about it, and I'm here to present it to you. John, you can go to the next slide. And I think this is the reason why we're all here and all interested in this program. Next slide. So here's the situation. The district has been asked to take another student, and that means that a host club is needed. And I do have a club in Minneapolis that is really tentatively quite interested in picking up this student. However, this is the first time ever, in at least in collective memory, that they've hosted a student. Oh, could you go back one?
Sorry, there we go.
There we go.
But they have hesitations regarding it, and they have to do primarily with the main barriers of entry that I find to the exchange program. First of them is finding host families. That can be very intimidating. Funding, if they haven't budgeted for it by now, funding is going to be hard to dig up. Finding a club champion to implement the program, and then the learning curve, which can be really intimidating for a club that's never done this before. So what I've tried to do is eliminate the barriers to entry for this club. Next slide, please. And that is that I'm in the fortunate position in Minneapolis that I have more host families that I know what to do than I know what to do with for this next cycle. So I can find host families. I already have a 3 host family pod for them. The Edina Club is very interested in this particular student because it is the sibling of a student that they had hosted a few years ago. He had applied, was accepted to another district, and then for whatever reason that district didn't have the capacity to host him. So they came to the Edina Club, and the Edina Club adored the student's brother. So they were trying to make it work for this other sibling. So they're willing to, the Edina Club is willing to coordinate the funding. So taking the funding aspect out of it. But the barrier to entry for mentorship is where I think that your club, if you're interested, could help out. And that would be offering real personalized mentorship to this club as they build their program and get started. And of course, North Star offers guidance as well. But I'm thinking of guidance that's really more hands-on and one-on-one personal. Okay, next slide. So here's the pitch. I'm asking if your club, if the E-Club would be willing to take on that role of offering that personalized mentorship to help this club set up their committee for the E-Club to be an member or members of the E-Club to be an active part of this committee. Maybe even to the point of taking on certain committee roles, and guide them through their first year of doing this. Again, North Star does offer a lot of great guidance, but they don't have the capacity to say, take somebody or to assign somebody to help do a host family interview, or to necessarily sit down and show them how to use the hub or what a counselor recommendation or a counselor form looks like. So that's where I'm hoping that maybe your club would be able to step in and do something like this. And it can be in collaboration with the other clubs in Minneapolis too. So there's lots of room for developing a cool partnership. And there could be roles that you guys can think of that I haven't even thought about yet. Next slide. So then what is this club's, what's your return on investment for this? I mean, other than world peace and understanding, which we're all excited about. But I could see this if your club is able to develop some sort of program or curriculum, this could be used to mentor other clubs, and this could be used in the North Star area, or it could be used in districts beyond what we offer. Since you're a club that's E, that could be anywhere in the country. This could maybe be a platform that could be used to help other clubs around the country. Of course, there could be the opportunity to have the student as a part of your meetings and a part of your other projects or activities. And it'd be a cool way as a cultural youth exchange in the district's efforts. Host and do a great job doing that, but to be a club that really has that guiding role, I think could be a cool opportunity for you. And that's what I have. That's my pitch.
Very good. Thanks so much, Lynn. Here, I'm going to unshare this so we can see each other again. I think this is something that we can talk about, we can discuss, and we'll get you an answer back in a week, maybe for the club members. But I'd like to talk this over, Chris Ann and Greg in particular, Kirk as well. Olga, see if this is something that we could reasonably take on, realizing that Chris Anna is in Colorado and Greg is, limited at this point, et cetera, and Kirk is in Wisconsin. But I think there's some potential here. And I, being a youth exchange focused club, the question has come up, could we ever host a student? And it feels a little much for a first year kind of organizing club on the one hand, but I think this might be a really nice opportunity to dip our big toe in. And Lynn, I appreciate you thinking of us and being willing to speak today.
You're welcome. I look forward to the rest of the meeting.
To be continued. Thank you very much. All right. Why don't we bring on Georgia? Georgia, before when you introduced yourself, it was really hard to hear you. I don't know if there's a way to get closer to the microphone.
Is this better?
Oh yeah, that's much better. Thank you very much. And I hope that I haven't heard back here from Harrison. Hopefully he didn't fall asleep.
He's on.
Oh, is he on?
Hello.
Yeah.
I got it to work.
Oh, there you are. Hey, Harrison, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Okay. I'm going to rename you there so people can see it. Great, sounds good.
Perfect.
So Georgia is from City of Lakes Club, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep, and then Harrison is from the Princeton Club, although is from Malacca, Minnesota himself. So both are current outbounds joining us late in the evening. It's close to 11 p.m., I believe, and you're both in Northern Italy. So, Harrison, I told you this during our test call. Georgia, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Minnesota governor put in place a shelter-in-place order this afternoon that goes into effect Friday night for all of us. So we are about, on the Minnesota side of the world anyway, for the Minnesota members, about to experience what you guys have been experiencing over the past 3 weeks. So I'm interested in, your experience of being at home and crawling the walls or not crawling the walls, and any thoughts you might have on your exchange. I mean, we'd like to hear about your exchanges as well. Just, what's your exchange been like up until 3 weeks ago, and then what happened on March, whatever it was, March 5th, did you say, Harrison? March 3rd?
I think it was March 8th, right, Georgia?
March 8th, yeah. And how that has changed your exchange and other thoughts. And you can talk a lot, you can talk a little. I think this group will have 500 questions for you when you're done, no matter what. So, Georgia, would you like to start?
Okay, sure. I'll start. So, I mean, this entire time, my exchange has been absolutely amazing. Obviously, there were rough patches, hard parts, bits of homesickness, but it's been a really, really good experience. I've had the opportunity to travel in Italy. I've been to Rome, Florence, Pisa, and then the whole Lombardy region, Como, which has been really amazing. I would say at this point I speak Italian. Definitely not fluent, but from the first day I got here, when I met my first host family and they were talking to me in rapid Italian and I didn't understand anything and I had to talk in English, I've definitely learned a lot. Now I only communicate in Italian. And I've had some really good friendships with both exchange students and my Italian classmates who have been so, so sweet to me and with me from day one to help me learn, taking me out, showing me the city. I live right now, for the last month, I've been living in my host family's mountain house, which is in the Alps. It's sort of near the border to Switzerland because we were here to go skiing when Lombardy closed. And so they decided it was safer to stay in this tiny town than in the center of Milan, which has been good for my safety. But obviously the quarantine was a big change for my life. I was going to school, learning, of course, and studying my classes, but also just being with my Italian friends. And every afternoon I would go out either to our Italian course or I would go with my friends. I would go shopping in Milan, which is kind of cliche, but it was very fun. And yeah, I mean, I went from going out every single day to being in the house, and it was hard because I didn't want to stay in the house for my exchange. That's not what it was about. And the schools closed, actually. They've been closed for maybe 6 weeks. I don't know how long, but they closed about 2 weeks before the actual quarantine lockdown started. And so I stayed home in those 2 weeks because obviously my host family didn't really want me going out into Milan. So that was a big change. And then at some point in the last couple of weeks, it kind of hit that our exchange as we know it is over. That lifestyle of just like going out with my classmates Saturday nights, following the 4Ds and everything, and just really going out. It changed and it hurt a little bit, but I think exchange is about adaptation, and of course it's not always what we plan, and that I kind of had to go through that. I had to adapt a lot. I had to, there were negative side effects, but there were also a lot of positive side effects. I got a lot closer with my host family, so it's going to really be hard leaving them. And now I'm going to cry, but yeah.
Hey, thank you very much. Let's switch over to Harrison. Hear a little bit about his experience, then we'll come back to you. Okay. Thanks, Georgia.
Yeah, a lot of everything that Georgia said was true, obviously. There are so many expectations you have going into this experience. And of course, like, the expectations you have are never ever going to happen the way that you like want them to at all. But that doesn't mean like things are bad or they aren't good because they don't meet your expectations. Your expectations are terrible and stupid. And if my exchange year went exactly how I expected, I think it would have been probably the worst exchange year of all time. Like, the whole point is to like experience things that you could have never even imagined experiencing at home. And so, but of course that means not only good experiences, it means bad experiences. And so this whole quarantine has definitely been a bad experience overall. But I think for me, looking at it, I look at it more as like, okay, this is something that I probably would have never been able to experience in my lifetime before. I mean, we're kind of at ground zero, at least for Europe, in terms of like this virus and all this quarantine stuff going on. And it's not exactly a good experience, but it's something that's super duper, at least interesting to be part of, like to witness all this and to see this. It's not something that's like happy, but it's something that's super memorable. It's something that's teaching me every day, and it's something that I probably would have never expected to see in my life. And I think looking back at it years from now, it's going to be something that I'm going to look back and say, I experienced that. I experienced that firsthand, something I would have never experienced otherwise. And so it's not ideal, but there's always a silver lining to all of it, I guess.
Thanks very much. Yeah, there's been many students who are in Minnesota who have gone home at their parents' and families' request. Many students around the world who are heading back early. A couple of us were talking earlier in the week. It reminds us quite a bit of a big earthquake in Japan 5, 6, 7 years ago, and one of our fellow exchange students who was in Sendai, where the big earthquake hit, and was sent home very early from her exchange. And it's not what you signed up for. It's not what you expected, but world events happen, and that was one thing. And this is a worldwide. This is something else. So it's a crazy time for all of us. And yeah, I just have to really acknowledge you for the very positive attitude that you have over the whole thing, and kind of seeing the bright side in what's happening and what's going on, and seeing it as something you'll be able to talk about for years to come and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'd like to open things up for some, oh, I want to ask, did either of you have any photos that you wanted to show us before we move into some questions?
I sent like a bunch of photos, so you can just show the ones you want. You don't have to show all of them, but I kind of just put a bunch
You know
of
what?
stuff.
Yeah, I didn't get them, so let me go over and check to see if they're there. And Georgia, do you have any photos that you'd like to?
I had a really bad migraine for the past couple of days, so I didn't really prepare anything.
No problem at all. Thank you very much. I'm going to go look for Harrison's photos, and if other members and guests would unmute themselves, direct a question to either one or both by name, and I will be back in a moment.
I have a question. Hi, Georgia and Harrison. Thank you both so much for sharing a little bit about your experience. I'm amazed at your resiliency and so impressed, and it just feels like your life right now, but this is going to be a defining moment of your life, and I'm just so impressed by the two of you. I'm curious, I have two questions. Are you doing school and what that looks like for Italians? And do you think this helps or hurts your language? Because I imagine on the one hand, you have no one to talk to except your host family. But then on the other hand, we're all spending way more time on screens. So I'm just curious.
Go ahead, Georgia.
I mean, you can go first. It's okay. I went first last time.
Okay. So for school right now, I mean, it used to obviously be very normal. So our school was, for my school, it was 5 hours a day, and that was it, pretty short. But and Monday through Saturday too, we have school till Saturday, which is terrible. But other than that, what's changed is that everything is online now. They continue things pretty regularly. I remember when we first started, it was super duper disorganized. I mean, we didn't really have any idea, but the whole situation, nobody really knew what was happening. It was kind of so sudden. So it took a little bit to get used to it. But like I would say once the quarantine started, so like 2 weeks after, things kind of started to get a good rhythm, and it was pretty much back to normal relatively. I mean, of course, everything's on screens, but you're still doing all the same schoolwork and everything. And in terms of language, it's helped and it's hurt because I mean, on one hand, you're not really being exposed to a lot of Italian per se, because at school, I mean, it's constant. You hear Italian everywhere. You hear Italian with your friends outside of school too. And here, like, you talk to your family, but you have a very narrow point of view to actually learn the language from. But the good part about it is now I have so much time to study Italian that I've been hitting the books. I've been hitting my grammar. I've been studying other things. I've been watching like shows on Netflix, listening to podcasts. So it's about like, I mean, you can still get that language experience as long as you're trying to.
I would agree with what most of Harrison said. My online school, on the other hand, has been a little bit different. Most of my teachers, when we were still at school, would just come to class with a book and talk at us for a couple hours. And so they're not necessarily used to using these computer techniques. And so we're not exactly organized. I'll have maybe 1 or 2 classes a day. And if it's before 10, honestly, it feels really early. This morning I had a 2-hour philosophy video call at 9 o'clock, so I did it in my bed, which worked great. But in terms of language helping, I would say, I mean, obviously we're still here, we're still in Italy, so it's helping because we're speaking the language. But in terms of the things we're talking about, I think it's hurt a little bit, because I can't talk to my friends about these things unless I video call them. I can't talk to them about what's going on in their life. I don't have that instability every day of learning new vocabulary. So both.
Thanks very much, Georgia. Anyone else? Who else has a question?
I have a question just about your lifestyle there. Like how large are the towns that you live in? What's school like, your school day? Tell us about your host families. Do you have brothers and sisters? Did you change families? Just kind of that stuff. Either can go first. Maybe Harrison, since Georgia just spoke.
Okay, thank you. Lifestyle here. I mean, I'll talk about it before the quarantine because obviously it changed a lot during the quarantine, and it's pretty much the same around the world right now. But before the quarantine, by far the biggest shock for me and the thing that was the hardest to get used to is how like kids my age socialize here because it's so much different than in America. Like every day after school in America, I would do my school and then do my like sport or activity for a couple hours. And then every day I hung out with friends. Like it was a given. You always did it. And here, kids study a lot more. I mean, they study 4 hours a day sometimes, 4-6 hours a day, whereas we didn't study quite as much in America. And so usually kids tend to go home during weekdays and they don't make plans. Like I would always invite friends to do stuff and they'd be like, you do stuff on the weekdays? Like it makes no sense to them. They just don't understand it. And so starting out, that was a little bit hard. It was kind of like pulling teeth to get people to do stuff, but eventually they started to kind of get used to like how I am too. And they kind of adapted to me too. And were more willing to do stuff with me. So it was a kind of a compromise there. In school life, that's a lot different too. Like, for example, school here, so you stay in one classroom the entire day. You don't leave your seat. And all the teachers switch classes, which is the exact opposite from our system. And that was exhausting at first because you're listening to this language you can't understand for 5 hours in a row. You're trying not to fall asleep every day because it's so exhausting to try to translate a language that you're not used to in your head all day. And so that was very, very tough. But you always get used to it. And now that I kind of got into the rhythm of it, it becomes normal, becomes your life then.
Tell us about your host families, Harrison. Did you have one or two or?
Oh, right. Sorry. So far, and probably for the rest of this year, judging by how it looks, I've had two. So I had the first one was they're actually from Argentina. They moved to Italy 9 years ago. And so my first house, I got a little bit of Spanish in the house too. And by the time I left that family, I couldn't speak any Spanish, but I could actually understand the conversations. And so I kind of got 2 languages for the price of one. So that was kind of nice. It was me. They had an older daughter, Francesca, but she's in Taiwan right now. And then a younger brother who's 10 named Juli, and a younger sister who's 6 named Juanita. And they were sweet. They were an amazing family. I got to do a lot of stuff with them. They lived right by the lake, and it was beautiful. And now I'm with a family, Barbara and Tori Rossi, and then they have a son, Giovanni, who's 21. He's studying in college, but he's back home, obviously, for the quarantine. And another son, Guglielmo, who's actually in Minnesota right now. And they're also amazing. They love hiking and going outdoors. And so I got to see a lot of the mountain part of Italy and Lecco in this area. So I definitely love the idea of changing families. It's a little bit hard at first because, you get really attached to your first family and then you have to leave them. And it's like, oh, this is hard. But then now I can look back and realize that it's one of the coolest parts of the experience because I get to see 2 different sides that I never really would have had an opportunity to otherwise, if that makes sense. It's almost like, if you were to change your family 3 times like you're supposed to, it's almost like having 3 exchanges in one because you get to do completely different activities with each family, and every family is a new experience. So you really maximize like the potential of this exchange year with that situation, I guess.
I'm glad you value that. I think it's one of the better parts of our program too, is changing families. Does it look like you're going to get to stay through May, June? What are your plans, Harrison?
So it's been back and forth this last week, back and forth between going, staying. I had no idea what I was going to do. it kind of depended on obviously the district here and district at home. But just today, I made the decision that I can stay, and I was going to stay until June. So that's it. And hopefully, maybe I can still have time for my third switch in April. So the schedule is a little bit off, but we're trying our best to just make it work with what we have.
Chomping away on a fruit snack. Hey, Georgia, do you want to go next? I had a message that people are still having a little bit of trouble hearing you. If you can, yeah, just hold that up and then maybe speak a little louder even yet. Thank you very much.
Is this better? Okay. Harrison said all of that very well. I'm sorry, I kind of forgot the first two parts of the question. I remember that he said it well, so we can leave it at that. And we
Yeah,
had
just
pretty
you know,
similar experience.
a little bit about your family and a little bit about your school and your city.
Yeah, okay. My first host family, I had a single mom, and her oldest son, Lorenzo, was doing an exchange year in New Hampshire, but he's actually coming back to Italy because of the corona. And I had a 16-year-old host brother, Vittorio, a 12-year-old host brother, Pietro, and a 9-year-old host sister, Chiara. They were super sweet. You know, obviously it's your first host family. And it was kind of weird to change host families because it feels like your whole support system, you know, because you've developed this life already after 3 or 4 months. You know your neighborhood, you know the route to get to school, you kind of know how to get places just by walking or taking the metro. And so it's hard to change. I was scared. But I love my second host family. I have a host mom and host dad, 3 host siblings. The oldest is 14, Sophia, and then Irene is 12, and then I have a very adorable 7-year-old host brother, Pablo. And my host mom from this family is actually from Spain. So they speak a little bit of Spanish sometimes. I had 0 history with Spanish, so I picked up a little bit, but I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that I could speak any Spanish. I could just maybe understand it from a mixture of Italian and hearing them speak it. Yeah, both of my host families have been amazing. I think with the quarantine, I've just really clicked with this family in a way that I maybe didn't with the last one because we're spending all day, every day together. So, yeah.
Thanks very much. Georgia, you told me just, you know, yesterday and today that you're not in Harrison's situation of staying until June. It looks like you'll be coming back to Minnesota sometime soon. Do you want to say a few words about that? Not to make you sad, but do you want to say a few words?
Yeah. So it looks like I'm going home on Monday, which is terrible.
Can you hold the microphone a little closer to your mouth, please?
I'm going home on Monday, which is terrible and devastating. And that's all I can say right now.
Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I know we had talked about it before, and yeah, it's as I said in my email to you, if it's any consolation, it's happening all over the world. It's, you know, it's affecting so many of our students, both outbound and inbound. So as a group of former exchange students, you know, all the former exchange students on video, just do a little wave. You know, we're there for you. We, you know, can't imagine it. And, you know, we're here, you know, we love you and it'll be okay. And we're here once you get back. And we're here every Wednesday at 4:30. So come on back and join.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Yeah, really, really tough. Yeah, Greg, go ahead.
Hi guys. If you don't remember, I'm Greg. I also went to an exchange student years ago. My question to you is, how many other Americans or exchange students, be they Rotary or otherwise, are in your high schools with you, and what's happening to them as well?
I
Sorry.
oh,
Go ahead, Georgia.
okay. I don't have any. I have one other exchange student. She's from Slovakia, but she's with a different program. She's staying, but she's not American, so.
I had only one other exchange student in my school. He was from Brazil, but he was also with Rotary. I met him right away in the whole exchange process. But he had to go home a while ago because he had a knee injury when he was ice skating, so it was an unrelated event. Other than that, there was another girl that's in my town who was from Taiwan, and she went to the school right next to mine, and I was pretty close with her too. And she left because of the coronavirus situation. And then there was a couple other kids from other organizations that I knew from our town that went with like AFS or WEP or other organizations. And they were definitely some of my closest friends I've had here, just because other exchange students get the whole situation that you're going through, and it's not quite as much of a language barrier. But other than that, I know a lot of our people from our Rotary district, especially a lot of the Americans, have left at this point. So there's not a lot of us left here.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I was muted. Yeah, thanks, Greg. Why don't we, if other people have questions, I'm gonna buzz over actually to Harrison's photos for just a little bit. I do have those up, and we can come back for some final questions. So I'll bring this up, and you can tell us a little bit about them, and I'll do the driving.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, and you can just pick and choose, and I'll explain them. I don't know. I tried to put a lot of photos with like friends and stuff like that because I definitely feel that friends, especially other exchange students, are probably the most important part of this exchange. Friends and family, just the people that you meet in general. I mean, so this was in Turin, and it was a rainy day, obviously, so we had the umbrellas, but I don't know. Definitely looking back as of right now, because I've had to reflect on this exchange year because I kind of thought I was going home for a while, and looking back, those are definitely the best like experiences that we had, whereas, you know, going out with people and like being able to experience all these like things with them, I guess. Like, you never really remember, obviously, like the times you're at home, the times you're at school. I mean, those things are important, but the times you definitely remember the most, the times that you're with friends.
For sure.
This was also in Turin. This was, we went to a museum for the Egyptian museum. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but you can just go through them kind of fast. This one actually, there's a story, but you can keep going. I think there's one with like the group. One more. Nope. Okay. Well, anyway, the ones there were, I was in Milan for, because I have a guitar teacher here. I've been doing like guitar lessons, and he invited me to go to his concert in Milan, and I kind of like helped him carry his luggage and stuff like that. And after his concert, we had time to kind of explore the city a little bit. We were in Navili, which is like the canals of Milan or whatever. And we got to this point where like these people looked like they were shooting a movie. And I wanted to do film and cinematography when I'm older, and I thought that was super cool. So I kind of went up to them and I asked them what they were doing. And they said they were shooting a film for like a school project. And I didn't get this in the video because it's a little bit long, but they actually asked me if I wanted to be in the movie because they were short an actor. And so I got to be in a movie in Milan.
That's awesome.
Out of the blue. By far, one of the coolest experiences of the exchange. And just, you would have never expected it. You like the things you just never could have planned or thought could have happened, and just out of nowhere.
For sure.
This is La Tuile, which is kind of right on the border of Italy and France when I was skiing in Mont Blanc, which was actually like one of the first times I had actually ever skied. And so I had no experience with it, and then they put me on the tallest mountain in Europe, and they're like, okay, go ski. But I learned really fast because if you don't, you obviously you're not gonna make it down the mountain. This is just another one of the small villages in that little Litwil area. I love it so much. That's why I mentioned these photos. It's so cool. This is Lecco. So there's a lot of different like mountains around Lecco. And then my second host family that I'm with now, they love doing like climbing and stuff like that. So until prior to the quarantine, like every single weekend there's all these peaks back here and you would hike on every single peak, at least like one per week. So we do all like a different new one every single week.
And Harrison, Lecco is that's where you're living this year. This is your city.
Yeah. So the city down below, and then the lake right there. We're kind of like on the very end of the lake. So I don't know if you guys know Lake Como, but it's like a upside down Y. And so it goes like this, and then branches down, and then Lecco is on one of the corners of the bottom branches, and the other side's Como.
And then are the white snow-capped mountains up here, is that towards Italy? Are those the Italian Alps or?
Yeah, so that's more towards like the France side.
Oh, the France side. Okay.
Or west, yeah. My host sister in Geneva. You can, yeah. That was actually one of my favorite cities, Geneva. I love it so much because it kind of, I don't know, it's got that kind of sea vibe, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. I loved it so much though. I went twice because of how much. And this is all Cinque Terre, which is just next to Geneva. This one's Rio Maggiore, which is like the last one of the Cinque Terre, and I love like the buildings of different colors. You know, it's always like the ones that you see in the Instagram posts, which is really cool because I mean you see these photos and you're like, oh, I want to go to these places so bad, and you finally go there and to actually like see these exact same spots that you've been looking at for like years. It's so like surreal, I guess. I don't know. It's super cool. Friends from school. And my school experience was a little bit different because here you're supposed to just stay with one class and like it's the same group of kids and you never leave for the entire year. But since I was an exchange student and I wanted to meet more people, the teachers gave me an option. So I was in a linguistics school and my class learned German and Spanish for some of the hours. And because there's such a high level and I have no experience with those languages, that my school gave me the opportunity to go to different classes for those hours and study different subjects with different classes. And so they gave me the opportunity to meet like a lot more kids and a lot more friends that I wouldn't have met otherwise because I would have been in the same class. So that was super cool too. I don't know. Mountain climbing again. This is the tallest one in the Lecco area, and you needed those little boots. I don't know like what you would call them, the grappling ones, to get on the ice because it was so slippery, but it was super cool. This is a panoramic of kind of like the Lecco area, and so it's the same stuff, but pretty.
There are worse places that people have gone on exchange, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And the best part about it is like even though it's quarantine, like my house is kind of up on the hill right now, so I can go outside and I can see like all that. That's kind of my view right now, so that's super nice. At least I have that, you know. This is kind of by the.
This is your house.
Yeah. This is up by the border between Italy and France, like Aosta. I don't know, it's these mountain cities with these castles and stuff like that. Saint Pierre, I think, is this one. Because that area is kind of like half French, half Italian, and that was super cool to see how the languages like mix there. Geneva again. Geneva again. This is the view from my first host house. That was baffled when I got there. It was amazing. Exchange students, that was our first meeting in Varese. So that was when we did the orientation and talked about the rules and got to meet everybody for the first time. Picture of Lecco, that was for, we went to an air show in Verona, which is a town kind of north of Lecco, but it was super duper busy. Like the train was like completely packed full and people are like packing in like sardines. They couldn't even get in the train. The station was full. And now it's complete opposite. Lecco again. This is with my first host family. So during Christmas time, they took me on a trip, like kind of through the entire north and central Italy. So we went to Genova, Pisa, San Gimignano, Florence, and Rome. This is Verona, which is a town just north of Lecco, super duper pretty. This is the group photo I was telling you about. This is the one from the movie that I was a part of.
Really, really cool. Great photos. Thanks so much for sending them over and showing. Other questions for George and Harrison?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So Varese is the city where I studied abroad in Italy in 1314. So I'm kind of curious what you thought about it. And what did you all do there and what did you see? Ezra, by the way, if it didn't specify.
Hey, Ezra, glad you're here.
Hey, glad to be here.
To be honest, we went to Varese the one time just for the orientation, and that was it. So I didn't get to see a lot of it. But honestly, it was super duper cool city, and it was one of the first cities I saw here. And so, I mean, like I had seen Lecco, and then Varese was the next one. And so seeing like all that Italian architecture, like the Italian way of life. I remember I went to the a cafe for the first time. I got an espresso and like I don't know, or a cafe because you don't say espresso, but it was so cool. I don't know. I remember it being like a super nice, lovely city. I would like to go back right now, but I might have to wait a couple months.
Ezra, were you on Lake Como?
Yeah.
No, I was in Varese, like Varese Central.
And so where is that from Lake Como?
So it is an hour and a half, maybe 2 west, like straight west. But you have to drive because there's no trains that go through the mountains.
And then Marcus, where were you?
I was in Lecco, so where Harrison is.
Oh.
Yeah. So I definitely have hiked those same mountains that he went on. So it's super cool to see some of those photos.
Where in Lecco were you? Like, were you in town or were you in the hills more?
The first 2 host families, I was in the hills, and then the last host family, like right next to like the Bertacchi and Liceo, like your school. I forget your school's name, but
Manzoni Linguistico.
Yeah.
And what school did you go to? Sorry.
Bertacchi. So I was the one next door.
Okay.
John, I have a question for you and the governor.
Yes, sir.
Am I too old to go again?
You know, I would have to get that approved, Greg, but I think we can make something work.
Governor, can you make it happen?
I'll try to make it happen.
Maybe
our oldest returning exchange student ever.
Maybe a more age-appropriate cultural exchange. How about that?
Hey, as one of the first, I can be, go again.
You can go again. That's great. I actually had a question for George and for Harrison. You know, we're about to go under quarantine here in Minnesota. So, you know, we got the order this afternoon and kind of not knowing what to expect. What's your advice for us as we enter into your world a bit?
Go ahead.
I would say, sorry, just honestly, if you can, obviously it's not accessible to everyone, but if you can, stay inside. It's not a joke. You know, obviously the situation has escalated so much here in Italy. And I know I have friends that are posting on social media and they're out with other friends and they're exploring the city and they're doing all this stuff because they think they're immune. And even if you don't have effects, symptoms, or, you know, even if you don't get it, you can still be a carrier for someone else, someone more vulnerable. So just I think everyone needs to do their part because we can't really have weak links in this.
Yeah, definitely very true. I think the most important part to keep in mind is like, even if you don't feel like it, even if it kind of sucks, like, please respect the rules. Maybe even go overboard if you can. Like the social distancing, self-isolation is very, very, very important. Like, I know it doesn't seem like that big of a deal now, but it will definitely become a very, very big deal. And the better you work on the social distancing and following the rules now, the better that things are going to be in the future. Like, I promise you, you won't regret it. Just take a couple weeks off and just make sure to really follow these rules diligently, for sure, is the most important piece of advice I can give. Other than that, try to keep busy. Like, my host mom put it a good way because she was kind of worried about, like, the first couple days I didn't really know what was going on. I was kind of waiting. I didn't think it was going to last very long, so I wasn't doing anything. I was just kind of like watching Netflix all day, taking it easy. And then after I realized that this quarantine is like here to stay for a while, I eventually figured, okay, I need to like have a plan. I need to have like a goal. And so every day I've been trying to like work on my Italian, practice guitar, like try to make a rhythm or a routine to make it feel more normal. Like every day needs to have a goal, because if you don't have that, you kind of, I mean, a couple of days of doing nothing is fine and it's fun, but after that you kind of go a little crazy. I don't know. So definitely try to do something.
Wise words and much appreciated. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Any other questions? We're a little over an hour right now, and I know we like to keep the meetings to Marlene. I don't know if you're still on. Is Marlene still on? I think she might have dropped off, but when we were first planning the E-Club meeting, she said, you know, I think we should try to keep them to 20 minutes. That's been a hopeless cause with us. We're just talk too much and keep going on and on, so which is a good thing. Any other questions?
I have a quick question too, but you can go.
You're fine. I was just gonna say, I would love to hear more about your experiences with your peers in Italy and what some highlights there have been.
By peers, do you mean, Naomi, other exchange students or friends?
I was thinking like classmates, friends, Italians. What do you guys do for fun with them? / also, have you been able to keep in touch with them?
Yeah. So, no, good question. When we, yeah, like I said before, like Italians, they tend to be very, the week is for work and the weekend is for fun. And so the week, I mean, you could get them to do stuff, but it was very, very hard. At first, it was like, I mean, you meet all these people and they're very, very excited to meet you. I mean, you're an American and they think that's the coolest thing in the world. And so you have a lot of friends, but then the hard part is to get them to do stuff during the week. And so usually a weekday for me would be asking 10 people, hey, let's go out for lunch. Yeah, let's go out for a coffee. And maybe one or two of them say like, okay, yeah, let's go. And, you know, that was just a daily thing. And it wasn't because they didn't like you. I mean, they all like wanted to hang out with you. It's just because they have so much homework and they're usually so busy. So fun during the week, it was possible, but usually you kind of do it for a couple hours, nothing too major. And then definitely joining activities helped a lot too. Like I do track here, track and field, and that's where I meet a lot of people too. So it's outside of school too. And during the weekend, that's when people always want to do stuff. So you have nobody asking you to do stuff during the week, and then the weekend, everybody's asking you to do something at the same time. And so it's chaotic, but that's definitely the best time, like Saturday nights and Sunday afternoons.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true what Harrison said. If we were going out during the week, it would be to lunch and maybe a few hours afterwards, maybe just study. But they're very studious. So when I would go out during the week, it would usually be with other exchange students because obviously I would always go for the Italians, my Italian friends first. But if they're busy, if they have a test to study for that I don't have to do, of course I'm not going to pressure them into doing something. So, but then every Saturday night, without doubt, they go out. And the really satisfying and amazing point was when it wasn't the Saturday nights turned into, Georgia, this is the plan, instead of, oh, do you want to come? You know, that made me feel good when I solidified in the group. I became part of the group. Yeah. Yeah, because they work so hard during the week that their time to party and have fun is really Saturday night. I think that answered the question.
Yeah, totally. Thanks. And have you guys both been able to keep in touch with people since the quarantine started, or has that just made it that much harder to stay social?
It's been harder, obviously, but I mean, we've been keeping in touch. Like, there's a lot of apps and stuff we can use. My friends invited me to use this app. I don't remember the name. I think it's like it's a house party. And so it's like you connect with friends like online like this, basically. You can meet chat. And so we do it like every other day with the different friend groups and stuff. Everyone's keeping in touch. And I actually, going into this year, and this was just by luck, I got really lucky. So last year I hosted a boy from Italy for 6 months, and he went through a different exchange program. He went through EF. It wasn't planned at all. But I ended up actually going to his town and his exact same school. And so I have him as a friend here. I've had him as a friend here. He's like a brother to me. And so I definitely have been keeping in touch with him.
And he's not through Rotary?
No, nothing was planned. It was complete coincidence.
What a coincidence. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Georgia, how about you? How are you staying connected?
Yeah, I'm staying connected as well. It's a little bit harder because my Wi-Fi connection is kind of bad here in the middle of the house. But I've done calls. There's social media, obviously, so it's easier to keep in contact. And, you know, I get to see my classmates every day on all of our online video calls. So that's been fun.
Thank you very much. Emma, you had a question?
Yeah. So, if you don't have an answer to this, that's fine. I'm just kind of curious as to what comes next for you guys. Like, what after exchange, what are your plans, or if you don't have any, that's fine. But just kind of curious.
So for me, I finished high school before coming here pretty much. And so I did my junior and senior year kind of all in my junior year. Like I got all the classes I needed to get done. And so this year I needed an English class for credit, but obviously that was pretty easy here. And so I still obviously participate in every class, but the one I get credit for is my English class. And then after this, I graduate. And I'm going to Los Angeles for a university to study cinematography. And so that's exciting. But the part that really kind of got a little bit confusing about this quarantine is our travel agency and kind of like at home, we kind of got the idea that if we decide to stay here, there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to get back in time for university. They couldn't promise us a plane, on June 24th, like I'm supposed to leave. So there's still a small chance I could be stuck here until, not stuck here, I mean, I love being here, but be here, past my time, past, September and October. So that's still a little bit of a problem, but it was a risk I was willing to take. So we'll see.
I'm going to be honest, I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, so I was just asking kind of what comes next, if you have plans for after exchange. If you don't, whatever, but if you have any plans for this upcoming year.
Okay. I unfortunately have to go back to high school. And I have applied to do PSEO, so to take college classes at the U of M instead of taking classes at my high school. I haven't actually decided if that's what I want to do, but I applied just to be sure. I need maybe 3 credits, if even. So I'll have a pretty light load, which is good. And after that, I want to go to college, but I have no idea what I want to study. And right now, honestly, all I want to do is travel, which is not exactly helpful for my life plans, but I just want to see the world.
I actually did PSEO at the U of M, Georgia. So if you have any questions about it, like feel free to let me know.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Are the officials in Italy saying the virus has kind of, reached its peak, it's getting better? What are you hearing from the officials there?
So what we've heard from the officials so far, actually Saturday was apparently, we're fingers crossed because it's not positive, it could go back up. We don't know for sure, but Saturday it started to decline, and since then it's continued to decline. And so we think that Saturday has been the peak, and so it's hopefully going to stay going downhill from there. So the officials are actually putting on more restrictions now because of that, because they know that, okay, this thing is starting to go down. We really want to make sure that this goes down and stays down, and we can finally get this as close to normal as we can as soon as possible. And so restrictions have been even harder now. Completely, altogether, workplaces are being shut down. You can't go to work at all. The only reason you can leave home is to get groceries or something like that, or medical emergencies. And so a lot of business.
Harrison,
Right.
on our test call, you were telling me about what the fines of what happens if you go out, or if you happen to be out and are found to be positive with the virus. Can you share that with the group? It's fascinating.
So just going out at all, period, regardless of whether or not you have the virus, without a valid reason, because police are monitoring streets, and if you're outside of your house without a piece of paper saying you can be, they can stop you and ask for permission. And if you can't come up with that valid or reason to be out, you get fined between like $400 and $4,000, I think, is, so. And then also if you are out and about without permission and you test positive for the virus, then you can get 5 to 12 years in prison. So they're not playing around with it at all.
No, they're not. And like you said, Italy is the epicenter of Europe, so with good reason, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially Lombardia, the region that me and Georgia are both in.
Sounds good. Any, maybe one more question?
This is Lynn. I have a question. So many people in Italy testing positive, being ill. Anybody in either of your circles, Harrison or Georgia, that have gotten sick or have passed away?
In my personal circle, no one that I know of, but I know that my host family has people that have gotten very sick, people that they know that have gotten very sick. And I actually have a relative back home in the US that's gotten very sick. So.
Yeah, so a lot of people that my host family knows, especially my host mother, because she works at a university in Milan. And so she has a lot of colleagues who've gotten sick since then. A couple of her friends who have died. That's unfortunate. I didn't know any of them though. And for me personally, there's a boy that I was friends or am friends with in Mandello, and he didn't have it, but when it was first kind of becoming big in this area, they thought he had it, and so he got put into like a personal quarantine for a while. And my English professor actually right now is showing symptoms, but she hasn't tested positive for it, but she thinks she has it. So it's definitely like relevant. Like you see it every day. I mean, it's not something you can ignore exactly.
Thanks very much. I just have to acknowledge both of you again for your positive attitude, and see Roger. Roger, you're signing off. So I have to go. Okay, sounds good. Here, there's an unmute for you. Yeah, thanks so much for joining. Great to see your face. Yep, you're on. Roger. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, you can. I think you're unmuted, so you can talk.
Yeah, we just have to get some things done for the medical industry tonight still.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for joining, and hope to see you again on a future meeting.
You will, thanks.
Okay, will do.
Bye.
Sounds good. And I was just saying, I really acknowledge both of you for, exceptional times and keeping the positive attitude and just sticking in there. So, and Georgia will be here for you when you get back. You have a lot of new friends as a result of the meeting today, and a lot of people that are here for you if you need anything. I speak for the group. And actually, if you can just all unmute yourselves and say a round of thanks to both of them.
Thank you both so much. Very much appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you, guys.
Wonderful.
And then we end every one of our meetings with the Rotary four-way test, which is just, I think never more, important than today in terms of keeping connected and all of us. So if we can read this together, the Rotary four-way test of the things we think, say, and do.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Will be
beneficial to all concerned.
So thank you. This is, Georgia and Harrison, we kind of rebranded the club at the end of last year. We started meetings only 2 months ago. So, but this is one of the highlights so far. Just really, really appreciate having you both here with us. Thank you so much. I know it's late there, coming up on midnight.
Yeah.
Just about, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Great job, John.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks, Ken.
Have a great week.
Thank you, Jen.
Nice to see everybody. Bye-bye.
Good to see you all too.